thinking that I wanted to definitely go to university.
I was thinking maybe like childcare or like medicine.
Something with sport.
I wanted to go off to uni and study psychology.
Some form of ICT or programming.
Thinking about your future job prospects is probably not something you do every day. But it's worth spending a little time occasionally to think ahead about your career and the sort of work that you may want to do in the future. This video looks at some of the local statistics in the Geelong region in order to give you some idea of the world of work that you might enter into. Jude Walker is a labour market analyst and futurist with the Geelong Region Local Learning and Employment Network, or LEN. This means that she looks at what is happening in the world of education and what's happening with employers and what it means for students in schools who are preparing themselves for work. Some of you will be thinking about your future options, like preparing for university or going into a trade or vocational education. That is, education that provides on-the-job training. Some of you won't have thought about the future much at all, but it's worth knowing a little about how the future world of work is looking. That's what this video is about. In her job, Jude looks at statistics relating to work and education in the Geelong region. These statistics help give a picture about what the region is going to look like in the future and what that means to young people, the employees of the future.
Now, the Geelong region LEN covers a geographic area which covers 4 local government areas, and they're the City of Greater Geelong, which covers right down the peninsula, down around Port Arlington, Ocean Grove, Barwon Heads, right through to the back end of Belmont, out to Lara and out past North Geelong. We've got Surf Coast Shire, which is Torquay down to Lorne, Borough of Queenscliff, which is Queenscliff Point Lonsdale, and the southern part of Golden Plains, which is Lethbridge, Inverleigh and back in towards Geelong.
To help us get a better picture of the future of work, the national statistics relating to employment are also worth looking at. These statistics are taken from the 2006 census. Healthcare and social assistance has grown remarkably, up by 25% in the last 10 years, and looking like keeping going at that rate into the future. Healthcare employs much more than just doctors and nurses too. People like cleaners, office people, managers, and people who work in the community as well. Manufacturing is another area that employs a lot of people in Australia.
What's also interesting, we keep on hearing about the decline in manufacturing. But when you look at it, it's only gone down by 3% and it's only projected to go down by another 3%. And that's because our traditional old concept of a dirty process line, where you just stand there and plug bits into something, is going. That sort of manufacturing is going offshore or being taken over by robotics. What we're seeing now is a rise in advanced high-tech smart manufacturing. Huge opportunities again in this region, and Deakin University actually has a fully functional department which looked at smart systems design. So they're doing heaps of work in robotics and logistics type of stuff. So again, don't discount manufacturing as a place to work when you finish school, because there are some really exciting things happening. Here what we're looking at is industries only by the numbers of people they employ. In this region we look at what are called propulsive industries, and that means they not only employ a lot of people, but they have an impact on what's called up and down their supply chain. So they buy their raw materials locally, so they're putting money into the economy in doing that. And when they export product, they're bringing that money back into the region as well. So they have an impact on the whole economy for a whole range of reasons. So for this region, these are considered to be the top growth industries. The top 6 are the propulsive industries, and we've added transport, logistics and warehousing in because there's a lot of things happening in this region around that industry. Right? And I want to come back to this a little bit when we start to look at what's happening in the world of work. If I look across the various local government areas that we work in, you can see these are the main industries that we're working with here. Retail's at the top of the list. Employs a lot of people, but a lot of that work is part-time and casual. So although the numbers look pretty good, the quality of some of that work isn't so great. Right? So we need to think about not just the numbers, but what type of work it is and what career paths it offers to people.
So how does your education relate to the type of job that you may be interested in the future? You can see from looking at this diagram taken from the 2006 census that this region has lower than average uptake of post-secondary education, which is a concern given that most employers are looking for ever higher levels of qualification.
What's also interesting is this area up here, which is not applicable. So people who've answered not applicable have either said, I'm currently doing my first post-secondary qualification, or I've got no post-secondary qualifications at all. And that number's really quite frightening in a region like this, because if those people don't have post-secondary qualifications, their opportunities for work are extremely limited.
It's not only the level of qualification that a prospective employee has, but also what the qualification is that can make a difference. Note from this diagram that most of the males are entering trade apprenticeships and females are concentrated in the education health area. Every year, about 3 to 6 months after students leave school, the state government surveys these students to find out what sort of employment or career path they have followed after they have left school. This is known as the On-Track survey. Looking at the labour force data, the people who are in work or looking for it seems fairly normal for the Geelong region compared to state levels. Of more concern is the size of the segments for those who leave school before Year 12.
And again, this is showing if you don't go on with further education, the likelihood is that you're either going to end up in full-time or part-time occupations that don't have a great career path, or you're going to be out of work altogether.
Looking at the census data another way, we can see that males who have left school below Year 12 are getting good, skilled outcomes. This is most likely because young males who leave school early are entering into apprenticeships. But females who don't complete Year 12 are much more likely to end up in unskilled jobs with not much prospects for the future.
And that's a real generalisation because I sort of work at that big picture level. So there are lots of girls who leave below Year 12 who get very good outcomes. But the overall data is showing us that whether you've got Year 12 or don't have Year 12, girls appear to be much better off if they go on to either an ongoing VET program or a university course. If we look at girls who've identified that they left school with Year 12, we only had 26 who identified they were in skilled occupations. We had 354 identify that they were in unskilled jobs. Right, so pretty scary for girls with Year 12. If we look at below Year 12, we've got 19 who identified they were in skilled jobs and 405 who were in unskilled jobs. And that's pretty scary in itself, but what gets even more frightening is when we look at full-time versus part-time. So of those 405, only 18 of them are working full-time. The rest are in part-time or casual work. And the problem with this for boys and girls is that once you get into that sort of work, you're earning very little money, and therefore it's hard to go back and try and do additional training if you've got to pay for it. And because you don't have that additional qualification, it's hard to get a better job. And so what we see is people in this cycle of low income, low employment, underemployment, low skill, and little opportunity to reskill to be able to get out of that cycle.